They marched as allies. They died as strangers. Somewhere before the first clash of steel, someone had already chosen betrayal. They said the cross and the horse lord's banner could never fly together. Yet, on that cold October morning before Homs, they stood side by side, fluttering over an army marching straight toward its own ruin. Sir Raymond of Tripoli tightened his glove around the hilt of his sword and tried not to stare at the man riding just ahead of him. The Mongols' lamellar armor creaked softly. The plates stained a dark, dried brown. Human or horse, Raymond could not tell. A wolf fur cap hid most of the rider's braided hair. Only his eyes were clear, narrow, unreadable, watching everything. "My name is Kara," the Mongol said suddenly in rough, accented French. "If I fall today, you tell your priests I died facing the enemy, not running from him." Raymond forced a grin. "If you fall today, friend, I will be too dead to tell anyone anything." Ahead, the plain of Homs stretched out like a dull, dust-colored sea. To the south, the orchards and walls of the city were only a smudge on the horizon. Between the Allies and those distant walls lay the real reason they were here. The Mamluk army of Egypt and Syria, somewhere beyond the haze, waiting. A strange alliance, born not from friendship but from fear. For the Mongol Ilkhanate, this battle was a door. Break the Mamluks here, and Syria would fall open, the road to Damascus and maybe even Jerusalem clearing beneath the hooves of their horses. For the Crusader remnants, Tripoli's tired knights, Armenian lancers, a handful of mercenaries. This was a last, desperate throw of the dice. The Franks could no longer defeat the Mamluks alone. Perhaps, they whispered, the enemies of their enemies could become God's unexpected instrument. Some called it blasphemy. Others called it survival. On a low hill, Mongol drums began their slow, steady thunder. Standards lifted. Messengers galloped. The allied host shivered into motion, banners rippling as units formed and reformed like shifting pieces on some enormous, dusty chessboard. Raymond glanced once more at Kara. "Tell me," he asked quietly, "what do your shamans say of this day?" Kara did not look at him. His gaze was fixed on the empty horizon, as if he could already see the Mamluk lines forming out of the dust. "They say," he replied, "that one of us will betray his own gods before sunset." By midday, the sun burned through the haze, cutting the sky into hard white and dust-colored gold. The Allied army halted, not because they wished to, but because movement now meant walking straight into the unseen enemy's jaws. The air tasted of sand, sweat, and something else, anticipation edged with dread. A scout returned, a lean Armenian with a torn sleeve and blood drying on his cheek. He bowed to the Mongol commander, Abaka's general, Tuluk Noyan, then spoke loud enough for the Crusader officers nearby to hear. "They are not hiding. They are waiting." The words struck harder than arrows. Far ahead, the banners of Sultan Kalawan fluttered, green, black, and crimson, marked with angular script. Beneath them stood the elite Mamluks, former slaves turned masters of war. They did not chant. They did not shout. They watched, silent, certain. Sir Raymond swallowed hard. "They expect us to break ourselves on them." Tuluk Noyan spat into the dust. "Then we don't give them what they expect." He turned to his captains, voice sharp as a drawn blade. "We strike fast. Horse archers forward. Franks hold flanks. Armenians reinforce the rear. When they advance, don't stop. Hit them before they breathe." Orders rippled outward. The Mongol drums shifted rhythm. No longer slow and ominous, but rapid, urgent, like a heartbeat before violence. Kara mounted his horse, tightening his reins. "This is where men are measured," he murmured. Raymond nodded, though his stomach twisted. The last time the Crusaders had faced the Mamluks alone, entire kingdoms vanished. Now, even with Mongol arrows and steppe tactics beside them, fear clawed at the edges of courage. Priests moved through the ranks, whispering Latin blessings. Nearby, Mongol shamans burned herbs, smoke curling skyward like thin ghosts of prayers. Two worlds, two faiths, standing shoulder to shoulder with one shared purpose: to stop the Mamluks, or die trying. A horn sounded across the flat plain, low, deep, unmistakable. The Mamluk cavalry began to move. Their formation widened like wings unfolding. Raymond exhaled, breath trembling. "God's will or the end of us all," he whispered. Kara answered without looking at him. "Both, maybe." The ground trembled before the first impact. Hooves thundered as Mongol horse archers surged forward, forming a crescent around the advancing Mamluks. Bows lifted, strings tightened. For one heartbeat, the world held its breath. Silence stretched thin as steel. Then came the storm. Thousands of arrows screamed through the air, cutting the sunlight into black streaks. They rained down on the front ranks of the Mamluks. Men and horses stumbled, shields jolted upward, gaps opened. But the enemy did not falter. Instead, the Mamluks tightened formation and pushed forward with terrifying discipline, as if pain only sharpened their resolve. Raymond rode beside the Mongol line, watching the dance of motion and precision. Kara loosed arrows one after another, his fingers bleeding where the bowstring tore skin. His voice was calm, almost bored. "Keep space. Never get trapped. Never let them touch your saddle." But the Mamluks were closing the distance faster than expected. Their heavy cavalry, armored from helm to hoof, crashed forward like a wall of iron tipped with curved blades and spears. Shields interlocked, banners snapping in the wind. The crescent of Mongol horsemen began to collapse backward, shifting into a feigned retreat, a tactic that had broken kingdoms before. Raymond saw the danger. If the Crusaders mistimed their advance, the retreat would turn real. He lifted his sword and roared, "Franks, forward! Hold the line!" Crusader knights answered with a thunder of their own. Lances lowered, spurs dug. The cross surged toward the crescent. French, Tripolitan, Cypriot, Hospitaller, armor shining like chipped stars under the brutal sun. Somewhere in that collision of worlds, the first brutal contact happened. A Mamluk spear pierced the chest of a Mongol rider, throwing him backward in a shower of blood and dust. A Crusader lance shattered against a shield, the splintered wood driving into the throat of the rider who held it. A knight and a Mamluk met blade to blade, metal shrieking, horses biting and kicking like wild beasts. Screams, steel, hooves, dust. War. Raymond hacked downward, blade crunching through chainmail and bone. His vision blurred from sweat and fear. A Mamluk swung at him, curved blade flashing. Block. Riposte. Blood sprayed his visor. Beside him, Kara shouted, "Don't stop. Push or die." And in that chaos, something shifted, subtle but deadly. A new banner appeared behind the Mamluk line. A reserve, hidden until now, and it was moving straight toward the Crusader flank. At first, Raymond thought his eyes were deceiving him through the dust and glare. But as the banner drew closer, dark red with a silver falcon, cold understanding hit like a hammer. This wasn't just another unit. It was the Sultan's elite reserve, fresh, untouched, disciplined. Their horses were larger, armor heavier, rank tighter. They rode not with the chaos of battle, but with the calm precision of men who already smelled victory. Kara cursed under his breath. They waited for the moment we were committed. Clever bastards. Raymond's pulse hammered. The Crusaders were already locked in violent melee. The Mongols were fully engaged, bows now useless at close range. There was no space left to maneuver, no time to reform lines. The reserve wasn't coming to fight. It was coming to break. Tuluk Noyan understood it instantly. His voice cut through the battlefield like a whip. "Signal the wings. Pull the left back, now." But the order came too late. The Mamluk reserve smashed into the Crusader flank with devastating force. Lances impaled riders clean through shield and armor. War cries rolled across the plain. Arabic, Turkic, Armenian, Latin, blending into one monstrous, desperate chorus. Raymond felt the impact as a physical earthquake. His horse stumbled, nearly falling. A mace slammed into his shoulder, pain exploding through his body. He parried a second strike, then rammed his blade upward beneath his attacker's chin, feeling the sickening grind of bone. Behind him, panic rippled. Knights who had sworn never to break formation wavered under the crushing pressure. "Move back!" someone screamed. "Form the wall! Where are the Mongols?" Kara rode past him, teeth clenched. "Hold them!" he shouted. "If you fall now, the center collapses." The Crusaders fought harder, shields locked, spears braced, but the reserve pressed with brutal inevitability. Every fallen knight opened a wound in the line. Every inch lost invited chaos. Raymond looked for Tulik Noyan. He found him mounted on a ridge, scanning the field. Not panicked, not uncertain, calculating. Then Raymond saw something else. A messenger riding toward the general from the rear, parchment in hand, a seal broken. Tulik read it, and in that one silent moment, Raymond knew something had changed, not in the battle, but in the alliance itself. Tulik Noyan's expression hardened. Not fear, not shock, but something colder. A decision already made long before the ink dried. He crumpled the parchment in his fist and whispered something in Mongolian too soft for Raymond to hear. But Kara heard it. His face went pale beneath the dust. "No," he breathed. "Not now." Tulik raised his hand. A signal flag unfurled. Red. Not for attack, not for reinforcement, but for withdrawal. The Mongol drums changed, swift, sharp rhythms like chains snapping loose. And the horsemen obeyed. They pulled back. At first only a handful, then hundreds, then entire wings. Raymond's heart froze. "What are they doing?" he shouted, voice raw. Kara didn't answer immediately. His jaw clenched like a man swallowing poison. Finally, he spoke. "We received orders from the Ilkhan. Bayan forces retreat to preserve strength. They say the Crusader flank is expendable." Raymond stared at him, disbelief turning to fury. "Expendable? We bleed for them." Kara didn't flinch. "And we for you. Do not pretend either side came here for love." The Mongols weren't running, they were executing a controlled withdrawal. Lines bent backward, archers repositioning to cover the retreat. They moved with discipline, not panic. It made the betrayal feel colder, calculated. Raymond's knights saw it too. Panic spread like wildfire. "They're abandoning us. Cowards. Hold the line or we're dead." But the Mamluks saw it as well, and their reserve pressed harder, sensing the fracture. A Mamluk rider slammed into Raymond's shield. Steel screeched. Sparks burst. Raymond countered with a desperate downward cut, splitting armor and sending the man toppling from the saddle. He gasped for breath. Rage, fear, exhaustion mixing into something primal. "Kara," he roared. "Ride. Bring them back." Kara looked at him, eyes burning with a fury not at Raymond, but at fate itself. "If I ride," he said, "I may return with 20 or none." Raymond clenched his bloody gauntlet around his sword. "Then go, before there's no one left to save." For a heartbeat, Kara didn't move. Then he spurred his horse and vanished into the dust with a trail of Mongol riders. Raymond turned back toward the crushing wall of the Mamluk advance. The Crusaders were now alone, surrounded, and the field of Homs was beginning to feel less like a battlefield and more like a graveyard waiting to be filled. The Crusader line bent like a cracked shield under weight it could barely hold. Raymond tasted metal, blood or fear, he couldn't tell. Knights fought shoulder to shoulder, armor dented, shields splintered. Some prayed aloud, others cursed. All understood one brutal truth. If they fell here, there would be no retreat, only death or chains. A Hospitaller knight beside Raymond slammed his mace into an advancing Mamluk's helm, crushing steel and skull in a single blow. "Hold!" he shouted, voice hoarse. "By Christ, hold!" The enemy answered with a fresh wave. Their discipline was terrifying, lines replacing lines, archers firing in deadly arcs over their own troops. The air swarmed with arrows, the battlefield echoing with the whistle of feathered death. Men dropped, horses screamed. The dust turned into choking, copper-scented fog. Through it, Raymond saw a familiar banner, the Golden Cross of the Maronites, flying above a cluster of Lebanese warriors. Their leader, young Lord Elias, forced his way to Raymond's side, blade dripping. "We cannot hold," Elias panted. "Not like this. We hold," Raymond snarled, "or we die." Elias shook his head, desperation in his eyes. "If Mongols do not return, this field will bury every kingdom still standing in the Levant." Raymond didn't answer. His mind raced. Not with tactics, not with strategy, but memories. Jerusalem lost, Antioch fallen, castles burned, orders shattered. Every defeat had led them here, this last stand, this final gamble. And now their allies were fading into the horizon. Suddenly, a horn cut through the carnage, the sound sharp and unfamiliar. Raymond froze. Not Mongol, not Crusader. Mamluk, the reserve that had hammered the flank, now split, opening a corridor between their ranks, like a gate swinging wide. Raymond's stomach clenched. What are they? Then he saw them. Fresh cavalry, heavy, armored, rested, held in silence until this exact moment. A trap inside a trap. Elias whispered, voice cracking. They were never surprised. They were waiting. The new Mamluk wave surged forward with terrifying precision. Their charge made the earth shudder, hoofbeats echoing like drums of doom. Raymond lifted his sword, not out of confidence, but defiance. Brothers, shields high, spears forward. The Crusaders braced as the charging line thundered closer. There was no time for fear, no time for thought. Only one final truth left to face. They were outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and now, out of time. The collision was catastrophic. The new Mamluk charge struck the Crusader line like a falling wall of iron. Spears splintered, men crumpled, horses toppled and rolled, crushing riders beneath their weight. The impact threw Raymond backward in the saddle, his shoulder blazing with pain. Someone screamed, "The line is breaking." It wasn't a warning, it was a fact. Raymond forced his horse forward, slashing wildly to clear space. Blood smeared across his visor. His breath burned. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to the inevitable. A Mamluk officer rode toward him, armor polished, eyes cold and deliberate. Their blades met with a harsh clang, sparks jumping like angry stars. The officer swung again, swift and precise. Raymond blocked the strike, then rammed his sword through the gap beneath the man's arm. The opponent collapsed, crashing into the dust with a snapping thud. But killing one meant nothing. The tide was still crushing them. Around him, once proud Crusader formations twisted into knots of desperate survival. Men fought in clusters, not ranks, each swing of a sword fueled by panic rather than discipline. Lord Elias was thrown from his horse, shield lost, helm cracked. He crawled toward a fallen spear, only to be dragged back by an enemy rider. His scream cut through the chaos, raw, helpless. Raymond lunged, cutting the aggressor down and hauling Elias upright. "Stay with me," he growled. Elias spat blood. "Does God still see us?" Raymond didn't answer. He didn't know. Then, through the dust, Raymond heard it. Not a horn, not a battle cry, a whistle. High, sharp, rising like a predator's call. Elias' eyes widened. Mongol! The ground quivered. Hoofbeats, fast and light. Then the riders appeared, Mongols returning. Not as scattered remnants, but as a single deadly formation. Kara rode in front, face streaked with sweat and fury. Behind him, a second wave. Not just Mongols, Armenians, Georgians, Kurd auxiliaries, all swept forward like a desert wind with blades. Kara's voice ripped across the battlefield. "Open! Make space!" Raymond shoved shields aside, dragging Elias out of their path. The Mongol wedge slammed into the Mamluk flank with terrifying efficiency. Arrows fired point-blank into eyelets and throats. Sabers flashed, cutting, slashing, breaking momentum. The Mamluks reeled, not broken, but forced to shift focus. For the first time in hours, the Crusaders could breathe. Raymond turned to Kara as their horses crossed paths. "You came back." Kara didn't smile. "We're not here to save you," he said, voice cold. We're here to kill as many of them as possible before fate kills us. Raymond nodded. That, at least, was a truth both could fight for. But even as the momentum shifted, Raymond noticed the horizon darkening. Not with clouds, but with another Mamluk battalion moving into position. Fresh troops, the final reserve. Raymond's heart sank. The battle was far from over, and the reprieve they'd earned might only delay the inevitable. The dust hadn't even settled when the new Mamluk battalion advanced, silent, disciplined, terrifying. Fresh troops against an army already bleeding. Their banners rippled like dark wings, and their armor gleamed untouched by battle. Raymond felt the shift immediately, a cold weight settling in his chest. Kara saw it too. His jaw tightened. They held them back until now, he muttered. Until we were tired. The Mongols tried to reposition, but the enemy moved fast. Too fast. Their cavalry formed a long spearhead aimed straight at the exhausted Crusader center. Raymond raised his sword again, even though his arm trembled from fatigue. "Stand firm," he called. "We fight to the last." Elias coughed blood but forced a smile. "Then let us make that last. Cost them dearly." The Mamluk charge hit. This time there was no dramatic clash, just collapse. Shields ripped away, men thrown aside like broken wood. The Crusader line shattered, turning into scattered pockets of desperate resistance. A knight fell beside Raymond, armor torn open at the throat. Another tried to retreat but was cut down before taking 3 steps. Kara rode past, arrows gone, saber drenched red. His voice was raw. "Fall back. Regroup. Don't die in pieces." But there was nowhere to regroup, nowhere to run. The field was closing. A Mamluk warrior knocked Raymond from the saddle. He hit the ground hard, air exploding from his lungs. Dust blinded him. Boots and hoofs thundered around him. Someone grabbed his arm. "Elias." "Up," the young lord gasped. "Up or you die here." Raymond staggered to his feet, vision swimming. The Mongols were still fighting, but their formation bent under overwhelming pressure, their retreat turning chaotic. For the first time, Kara looked afraid. "They're surrounding us." Raymond steadied himself, sword barely held. "Then we break through." Kara gave a grim nod. Better to die moving than kneeling. Behind them, the Mamluk drums beat faster, victory already echoing. And for the first time, Raymond wondered if the prophecy whispered that morning was true. Not all defeat comes from the enemy. Some is born the moment allies stop believing in the same end. They tried to break out. A desperate push. Mongols in front, Crusaders behind, every survivor clinging to the last spark of will. Horses slammed through gaps, blades tore open shields. Men screamed prayers that vanished under steel and dust. For a moment, just one, they broke the pressure. Freedom flickered. Then the trap snapped shut. The Mamluks folded around them in a perfect curve, cutting off every angle. No more retreat, no more tactics, only killing. Elias fell first. An arrow struck his side, then another in his throat. He sank without a sound, eyes still open, sword still raised. Raymond reached for him, but Kara dragged him away. "Leave him. He's already with his god." Raymond wanted to argue, but breath, strength, and hope were gone. The Mongols fought like cornered wolves. Kara cut down 2 riders, then a third, movement slowing with exhaustion. His horse staggered, bleeding from 3 wounds. "Raymond," he said quietly, "if you survive, remember this. Alliances built on fear break faster than bones." A Mamluk officer charged them, towering, armored, relentless. Kara met him head-on. Their blades clashed once, twice. Then the officer's sword found a gap and drove deep. Kara exhaled. Not a scream, just a sharp breath. He stayed in the saddle for a heartbeat, then fell. Raymond froze. Everything, the noise, the dust, the panic, felt distant. A dull ringing filled his ears. His sword hung useless at his side. Around him, the field was ending. Not like a battle, but like a candle burning down to its last dim ember. Mongols lay dead in scattered clusters. Crusader shields lay trampled into the dirt. The Mamluks slowed not because they tired, but because the outcome was already decided. Raymond sank to one knee not from surrender, but because his body refused to stand anymore. A Mamluk rider approached, spear lowered. Raymond closed his eyes. He expected death. Instead, silence. Then a voice, calm and clear. "Take him alive." Hands seized him, dragged him upright, bound him. The Battle of Homs was over. Not a triumph. A warning. When Raymond opened his eyes, the battlefield was no longer a battlefield. It was a graveyard. The sun hung low, red as spilled blood, turning the field into a canvas of wreckage and silence. Bodies lay scattered in broken formations. Crusader armor dark with dried blood. Mongol lamellar pierced and torn. Banners trampled into the earth like forgotten prayers. The Mamluks moved methodically, checking the fallen, securing prisoners, extinguishing what little resistance remained. No cheers, no triumphal chant. Victory here was grim, necessary, and heavy. A Mamluk officer approached, the same man who spared him. "You fought hard," he said. Not mockery, not praise, just acknowledgement. "But some wars are lost before the swords are drawn." Raymond stared past him, searching the field until his gaze found Kara's body, half covered in dust, one hand still gripping his saber. The wolf fur cap lay beside him, battered and torn. "Why did you spare me?" Raymond asked, voice raw. The officer's answer was quiet. "So you remember." Raymond frowned. "Remember what?" The officer gestured to the fallen armies. Two worlds that had marched together yet never truly stood united. That fear cannot bind nations. That desperation is not alliance. That faith without trust becomes just another weapon, and today both sides used it. Raymond closed his eyes. He remembered Kara's prediction. One of us will betray his own gods. Maybe they all had, not in prayer but in purpose. Night fell slowly, and torches lit the camp as prisoners were marched away. Raymond took one last look at the field, at the horses lying still, at shields split open like broken bones, at arrows sticking from earth as if the ground itself had been wounded. He felt no hatred for the Mongols, no anger toward the Crusaders, no fury at the Mamluks, only emptiness, a cold realization. No matter who fought today, Christian, Muslim, Mongol, every man believed God rode beside him. Yet on this field, God had been silent. As the chain tightened on his wrists and he was led toward captivity, Raymond whispered, "Not prayer, but truth. War doesn't choose sides. It only remembers the dead." Behind him, the wind dragged dust across abandoned armor, burying alliance, ambition, and hope beneath the same indifferent earth. And the Battle of Homs faded into history, not as victory or defeat, but as the one-day enemies stood as allies, and still lost everything.